Hi everyone, I'm Jane Corner. I'm a psychotherapist specialising in IBS, and in this video we're going to be talking about catastrophizing, which is expecting the worst. Now, catastrophizing, especially when it comes to your IBS symptoms, is an excellent way to make yourself feel anxious, depressed. It can trigger more IBS symptoms and have you living a smaller life. So not only are we going to talk about why you blow things out of proportion and catastrophize, but I'm also going to be teaching you 4 steps to stop doing it. So let's dive in. Now, catastrophizing is a pretty common cognitive distortion or thinking error. It's basically when we think of a current or future situation as a catastrophe. So for example, you'll worry you need to use the bathroom on a long drive and you won't be able to find one in time. And then you worry what would happen if you have an accident. You'll be so embarrassed, you'll never get over this, people just won't want to know you, you'll never be able to leave your house again, and your life will be over. So catastrophizing is imagining the worst. It's taking a difficult situation and interpreting it as being horrible, terrible, and totally unrecoverable. We basically predict the very worst outcome in our minds. And this thinking pattern starts by something challenging happening. So whether it's passing gas while you're out with a friend or hearing your stomach gurgle when you're in the middle of that work meeting. And then this thinking error takes that reality and turns it into belief that something terrible is going to happen. So that might be thinking you can never face your friend again because of the embarrassment you feel. Or you're going to have to leave in the middle of the meeting and everyone at work will think you're really strange and there's something wrong with you. And then your mind might take this a step further, and then you might believe that you're going to lose your job and that no one will employ you with your IBS. Hopefully you get the idea. Now, at its root, catastrophizing is about our habitual response to challenges or shortcomings. So I want you to take a moment and ask yourself, how do I respond to challenges? Because very often, when you blow things out of proportion, you lose sight of your own ability to prevail in the face of life's challenges. You forget about your ability to experience challenging situations and be able to cope with them. Now, unfortunately, catastrophic thinking habits can become a repeated pattern and can lead to feelings of depression and anxiety. And this happens because when we imagine a future that's bleak, that's threatening and hopeless, our brain responds by putting out less serotonin and dopamine, which are the happiness, pleasure, and motivation chemicals. And because catastrophizing can lead us to look for threats everywhere, seeing many different situations as opportunities for things to go wrong, anxiety levels start to increase. And this creates another problem, and that is your brain reacting to these perceived threats as if they were actually happening, as if you were in real immediate physical danger, which results in your fight or flight response being switched on, which can directly lead to IBS symptoms such as pain and irregular bowel movements. This is because of the very close relationship between your brain and your gut and the impact of stress on your digestive system. Now, if you're new to the impact of stress on your IBS symptoms, then I'd highly recommend watching the video which I've linked on the screen, and I'll also link it down below in the description. You might also want to download your free copy of my Ultimate Guide to IBS Flare-Ups, which talks about this impact of stress on IBS. And again, I'll link that down below. So here are a couple of examples when it comes to IBS and catastrophic thinking. And I'm curious whether you recognize any of your own thinking in these. So experiencing a flare-up while you're out on a date and then predicting that you'll be single forever and that no one will want to date you. Another example is if you spend too long in the bathroom at work and then predicting that you'll get fired from your job and that no one will want to hire you. Or believing that you'll have IBS forever and predicting that you'll never feel okay ever again. So if catastrophizing is so harmful, why do we do it? Well, this goes back to what I talked about in an earlier video, that as humans, we love certainty. We like to be in control, because the opposite makes us feel vulnerable and powerless. And so worrying and catastrophizing and predicting the future is our mind's way of reacting to life's uncertainties, because it's the only option that we have. So whilst catastrophizing and thinking the worst feels uncomfortable and stressful, It's your brain's way of at least doing something. It serves as a coping strategy to help prevent you from feeling risk or uncertainty. But because we trick ourselves into believing that if we expect the worst to happen and predict what's going to happen, then we can prevent it or at least plan for it. So if I expect to have an IBS flare-up in a shopping centre, then I won't feel taken by surprise if I do. If I expect to have pain and bloating after a dinner out, then I won't feel disappointed or caught out. So catastrophizing is really a way of protecting ourselves from feeling uncomfortable emotions and being in challenging situations. But we often end up feeling worse because in reality, the exact opposite usually happens. And when it comes to IBS and the impact of stress and anxiety on the digestive system, our catastrophic thinking and anxious thinking can actually trigger the very same IBS flare-up that we were hoping to avoid. And that's not all. Expecting the worst also justifies us from not even trying, and it can end up feeling more comfortable in just saying no to that dinner, or no to going out to that shopping centre, or no to that date. Whilst it can feel safer in the short term, in the long term, it actually steals the joy from your life. So instead of catastrophizing, let's find a more helpful way to move through life. And I have 4 steps for you. Okay, so step 1 is making sure you're prioritizing sleep. Because when we are tired, we are less resilient and we become hypersensitive to threats. Step 2 is keeping things in perspective. Now, this means that realizing that even the worst consequences or negative events are more manageable than you may think at first. Whether it's losing control of your bowels, getting to work late, being stuck in traffic, or misplacing your wallet, these events can understandably cause stress, but in the end, you get through them and ultimately land on your feet. Okay, step 3, know the difference between what is likely and what is possible. Getting a better handle on your worries is a lot easier if you base your estimates on what is likely to happen, not what is possibly going to happen. In fact, we make distinctions between what's possible and what's likely all of the time. For example, it's certainly possible that you could slip on a bar of soap in the shower and hit your head in the morning. And it's certainly possible that a car might bump you on the way to work. Are these events possible? Yes. But are they likely to happen? No. The idea that events are possible doesn't stop you from taking a shower in the morning or driving to work. In fact, every day your actions are controlled by knowing the difference between what is possible and what is likely. Understanding the difference is key to help you take back control of your worries. And finally, step number 4, which is challenge your thinking. Now, in this step, you are going to start noticing when you are catastrophizing. What situations are more likely to cause you to blow things out of proportion? Next, you are going to identify specific thoughts. What are the words that you use? What are the specific thoughts that go through your mind? And then finally, you are going to explore and gently challenge and question those thoughts. And you can use these questions. What would happen if X happened? Have I got through an IBS flare-up before? Am I focusing on how bad things would be and not on my ability to tolerate adversity? Am I overestimating how long X would last and how uncomfortable it would be? Is it really terrible or just not what I wanted to happen? If X was to happen to someone close to me, what advice would I give them? And finally, even if I can't control what happens to me, what can I do to control what's happening inside of me? When you complete this step, I also want you to keep an eye out for those judgment thoughts, especially when you notice your catastrophic thinking. And this could look like, I can't believe I'm thinking this way. These thoughts are so silly. What's wrong with me? And then learn how to gently let go of those thoughts. Letting thoughts go and being able to detach from them is a technique from acceptance and commitment therapy called cognitive diffusion. And I'll talk more about this in a future video on how you can stop attaching to intrusive and unhelpful thoughts. So here are some examples of challenging catastrophic thinking when it comes to IBS. Other people are going to think I'm really strange because I'm always running to the bathroom. They'll think I'm abnormal and they're probably all laughing at me. The challenge here is to ask, how is it possible to really know for sure what another person is thinking? And so you can replace this thought with, there is no way for sure to know what goes on in anybody else's head. I have to remember that most people are nice and therefore would feel sympathy towards me, especially if I'm in distress. People would judge me based on the type of person I am, not on how often I go to the bathroom. Here's another example. What if I don't make it to the bathroom in time? And you can challenge this thought by asking, what is the evidence that I won't get to the bathroom in time to avoid a problem? The replacement thought could therefore be, I have to remember that having an accident is an extremely rare occurrence. If I stay calm, I will be able to reduce the urgency and will ensure that I make it to the bathroom in time. You see, part of learning how to stop catastrophizing and blowing things out of proportion is to look at the bigger picture and realizing that managing IBS depends on your ability to talk yourself through challenging situations and recognizing that uncertainty is a natural part of life. And that opens you up to feeling vulnerable. And there is a risk of things not working out as we hoped, but there is also a risk of things working out better than we hoped. The only alternative to not making ourselves vulnerable and trying to control life is cutting yourself off and not even trying. So, as always, I hope you found this video helpful. And you can let me know down in the comments if you recognize your own catastrophic thinking. What is that little chatty part of your mind telling you? So thank you for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.